Hello, welcome to Fun with Failure. I've found some wonderful stories about petty revenge. I hope you enjoyed these 6 stories I collected. Without further ado, let's get started. In 2012, I was in the military, and they had some pretty sweet apartments we could live in on the base. It was significantly better than the barracks. Full kitchen, living room, private bedroom and bathroom, with 2 bedrooms to the apartment. Each person had their own internet connection with their own router and such. I didn't know the guy in the other room very well, and we were on opposite shifts, and we both tended to just stay in our bedrooms. He loved Call of Duty. He was the stereotypical guy that talked crap and screamed the whole time he played. Not yells, screams, like shrieks. You could tell when he was doing very well because he would scream even more. He did it constantly, and I would constantly ask him to keep it down, but he would continue. One of the few times we actually hung out, he had a couple of friends over. One of his friends would often crash on our couch on the weekends. He mentioned his laptop had been running very slowly, and I offered to look at it for him. He agreed, and I told him that I would see what I could find and he can just grab it on Sunday night. Remember how I said that we had our own internet connections? Of course, his friend was logged into his Wi-Fi, so I just checked the handy show password box on the connection settings, and I saved it to my own laptop. From that point on, anytime I heard him yelling, I would wait until his screaming was about racking up kill streaks, logged into his router administration page, and disconnect his Xbox. It was the same every time. Screaming followed by a few moments of blissful silence, then a "God dang it!" would erupt from the other room. I did this several times a week for the next 4 months. I'm a university student who lives on campus. I share the communal toilet and shower in my hostel. This is generally with all the other girls who live on my floor. Last night, I came back to my room after a long and tiring day, and I just wanted a hot and relaxing shower before I went to bed. The thing is, hot water is supposed to be available in every shower cubicle in the hostel, but for some reason, the one on my floor only has 1 cubicle with running hot water. When I went into the toilet, I saw that this particular cubicle was taken, and usually on any other day, I would have just used the other one, but last night, I just really wanted a hot shower. I decided to return to my room and wait for the cubicle to be available. And when I went back 30 minutes later, quite a reasonable amount of time for a shower, right? I found that the cubicle was still occupied. Whoever was inside didn't have the water running, unlike half an hour ago, and was blasting music and singing. I thought that meant she was almost done, and I went to go fetch my stuff, only to find the water running again when I came back 5 minutes later. This time I knocked on the door and I asked if she was going to be done soon, because I've been waiting a while and I would like to use the shower as well. The girl inside said, "Yeah, just let me put my clothes on." I spent the next 15 minutes waiting for the sound of the running water to cease, but it never happened. I got really annoyed at this point, so I decided to switch the hot water heater off, and I left the toilet with the door closed, so that no one would be able to hear her when she asked for help. This was a pretty late night, and the traffic was sparse. I hid in the corner that the toilet was visible, and I felt extremely satisfied when I saw my neighbor, I didn't like very much, come out of the toilet, scowling and shivering. I've never had a hot shower that felt so good. I was waiting for a flight at a major East Coast airport, and in walks this young, slick, loud business kid. He was in his early 20s, I think. He was on a conference call, shouting into his Apple earbuds, drops his bag in one free seat, and starts pacing the floor, up and down the aisle, oblivious to the dozens of other folks eating lunch. Unlike the other people working quietly, he was being extremely loud, interrupting other people's work, and waking up the sleeping babies. He continues pacing up and down, shouting, Yep, we'll upload that into the system." Blah, 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 jargon, acronyms, and business bullcrap. He was annoying everyone around him, making everyone else get out of his way. folks started giving him the stink eye, but his shouting and pacing continued. His circuit widened until he was walking out of sight, then circling back, still shouting into the air. After 20 minutes of this, I'm over it. This kid stalks off in a hurried pace, abandoning his backpack for 3 or so minutes while he paced the terminal. So I walk up to a TSA guard, and I point to the bag and say, "Sir, there's an unclaimed backpack on the seat." Then I walk away. The TSA starts making announcements, trying to find the owner of the bag. But this D-bag business kid is too oblivious, pacing and shouting. The TSA is already removing the bag when he realizes and chases after him. It's too late though. He's suspect, and he has to follow them out of the terminal for a bag check. And now it's nice and quiet again. I live in a house off campus with housemates who are my friends. I had bought myself some shampoo and body wash because I had recently run out of them within a couple of weeks, which I thought was weird, but I really didn't think much of it. I asked my housemates if anyone had used my shower products, and no one said they did. However, this is where I realized I wasn't the only one using my products. Fast forward a couple of weeks and I'm running low again. I was keeping an eye on my products, and I realized it was going quickly again. The other bottles that were my housemates were bone dry for weeks. I live with 5 other people, and there are 3 or 4 empty body wash and shampoo bottles. I knew that someone was using them, but I didn't know who. So in my act of petty revenge, I took my bottles, which were on its last leg, and I added some white vinegar and mixed it around. On a side note, vinegar is actually good for your skin and hair. My plan was to add vinegar and wait to see who came out smelling like it. Later that day, 3 of my housemates came out of the shower smelling like vinegar, and they didn't say anything. Actually, the whole bathroom smelled like vinegar, and one of my other housemates who used the shower across the hall pointed it out. I knew exactly who they were, and I called them out on it. Best part was that one of them had a date that night, and they were already late, and they couldn't take another shower. I hope your date enjoys your new cologne. So a few weeks ago, my brother, my sister, and myself, all in our early to mid-20s, took a little siblings vacation to California for a week. First time that we've ever done anything like this. So a few nights into the trip, we went to a basketball game in Sacramento, after a day where we had been drinking on and off. As we take our seats, I took my jacket off and placed it in my seat. Knowing that I have a perchance of being forgetful, asked my sister if she could remind me about it if I left it. To which she looked at me absolutely disgusted and remarked, "I'm not your mother." Well, sheesh. We were having such a very nice trip up to this point, and I had no clue that that kind of reaction was coming. Well, whatever. I figured she was cranky or something, so I let it go. Well, wouldn't you know it, a few nights later we had gone out to eat, and she was the first one to stand up and walk away from the table, leaving her purse on her seat. I did what any responsible older brother would do, and I quickly snatched it up and hid it inside my jacket. After we had walked about 7 or 8 blocks away from the restaurant, I made some remark about how weird someone else's purse looked, and she immediately realized what she had forgotten. She began running back toward the restaurant. I filled my brother in, and we took a nice casual stroll back to the restaurant, where my sister was freaking out because her purse wasn't there. I simply held up her purse, looked at her straight in the face and said, "I'm not your mother." It was gloriously cathartic. My petty revenge story is a little gross, so I apologize in advance. I have a sensitivity/intolerance of most meats. Beef is probably the worst. The doctor recommended that I try to get my protein from alternative sources if possible. So I've been a vegetarian since I was 13. When I was younger, my aunt did not believe the doctors and thought I was being fussy. We come from a meat and potatoes town, so she had plenty of friends backing her up on this. This is the same aunt that convinced my parents that I was faking asthma. Turns out, I wasn't. Shocker. And refused to get her own daughter glasses because she thought she just wanted attention. She later discovered that her daughter's eyesight was atrocious. Another shocker, I know. The whole family regularly had dinner together. taking turns hosting. When it was my aunt's turn to host, she assured me that my burger was meatless. As you probably guessed, it was not. I was starving that night, and I gulped down my beef burger first. My aunt was smiling, and I thought it was simply because I liked her cooking. Looking back, I realized that her little smirk was because she thought that she caught me in a lie. Well, a few minutes passed and I got that familiar, unpleasant feeling in my stomach. It was then that I realized what she had done, and why she was smiling. When I eat meat, I almost always get sick. I get extremely nauseous. I just can't hold it down. So when it came time to kneel down before the porcelain throne, I decided to stay put. I instead took aim at my aunt, who was seated beside me at the head of the table, and let her rip. If you enjoyed these stories, please leave a like and subscribe for more. All stories from Reddit and other external sites are linked in the description below. If you have any stories you'd like to share, you can send it to my email at funwithfailure@gmail.com. And for just $1 a month at Patreon, you can get advanced audio broadcast. The link is in the description.